Hello, my friends. How are you? I hope this day has found you well, indeed, more than you expected it to. I'm doing alright for the shape I'm in. This is going to be a top 10 or 11 or something like that. Friday, because it's Friday. If you stick with me all the way to the end, there'll be a test. I'm smoking. What am I smoking? Cornell and Dill's Old Joe Krantz in my Blakemar Briars Bent Bulldog. I hadn't smoked Old Joe in a little while. It's funny, that bag, it's been stored just like this in a cardboard box for probably somewhere around 4 to 6 months, I don't remember. And it's just as good as it was the day they put it in that bag. Joe Krantz. You remember Uncle Joe, right? So I got my notes because my brain, which I just wrote them down, I brought my pencil. One of the best pencils in the world to me. I don't know if you're a pencil connoisseur or not, but just for cheap pencils, Ticonderoga. Although the printing's off on that one. How embarrassing. Anyway, these are good pencils. I've got a mechanical pencil that I do most of my writing with, but my kids go through pencils like crayons. So I end up buying a 30-pack about every 3 weeks. So anyway, today's list, top 10 movies where the main character dies. So I'll give you a warning here. If you don't want any spoilers and you think you might not have seen some of the movies on this list, although the newest one on this list, geez, probably was made in, I don't know, the early 2000s maybe. I got two that are around that time frame. So, anyway, if you hear the title of a movie and you don't want to know what happens, and it's probably already spoiled for you, but so movies where the main character dies. I know there's a lot more than this out there, and there's probably some good ones. I just haven't seen them, so they're not included on this list. One in particular is my wife's favorite movie. So without further ado, American Beauty. Kevin Spacey, Chris, what's his name? It's a shame because he's one of my favorite actors. Chris Cooper. and a host of other fine actors in that movie. A very, very disturbing, dark tale. It's not much of a surprise that he dies, because he says at the beginning of the movie, "This story does not end well for me," or something like that. He may even say he'll be dead at the end of it. I can't remember, but he is. It's a great movie. It's got some good music in it. Number 2 on this list, Braveheart. He dies one of the most gruesome deaths. I'd rather just be shot in the head and have it be done with, but he has to suffer a little bit in that movie. It's interesting if you, it was based on a true story, theoretically. But if you go back and research and actually read about William Wallace and the story that surrounds his life and whatever, this movie doesn't get a lot of it right. A lot of the characters didn't even exist. Some of them are an amalgamation of like 4 different people in the man's life. I won't spoil all that for you, but if you're interested in reading it, it's a pretty interesting read. Braveheart. Bought the farm. Number 3. This movie has 2 main characters who theoretically die in the end, although we're not shown the outcome, but we know they died. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I believe that was 1967. I got 3 movies on this list from 1967. It was a good year for movies and a good year for people being born. Yours truly, and Berg. Butch and Sundance. They cause all kind of havoc. End up in, where is it? Somewhere in South America. Guatemala or Bolivia. I think it's Bolivia. And they decide to rush out and challenge the people that are shooting at them. You know, unbeknownst to them, it's pretty much an army. They rush out in a blaze of glory, and the movie just stops. Great movie. Think you used enough dynamite there, Butch? Number 4. I believe this is the only movie where this guy ever died. Making Bruce Dern the only person that ever killed him. That would be John Wayne, and the movie is The Cowboys. That's from like 1970 or 71, somewhere in there. Basically, he takes a bunch of kids out on a cattle drive because he couldn't get people to join his group. And, in the end, there's a big tussle. There's some rustlers and stuff like that. And he gets in a fight with one of them and gets the better of him, and the guy gets pissed and shoots him. And he later dies. Good movie. It's a good John Wayne movie. Number 5 on this list is another tough one to watch. It's very dark. It's especially tough if you know somebody in this situation. It's Leaving Las Vegas. Nicolas Cage and Elizabeth Shue, I believe. story of alcoholism and the failure to overcome it. Number 6 is based on a true story as well. I can't remember the guy's name, his last name anyway. His first name is Rocky. That movie's The Mask. Stars Cher before she went off the deep end. And Sam Elliott, Mr. Mustache himself. Story about a boy with a rare condition that it's just a feel-good story. The guy ends up touching everybody's lives, and story about relationships, but he ends up dying. Number something. One of several movies where this guy is a main character and he dies. I can think of 3 right off the top of my head. This one is Road to Perdition. Tom Hanks. It's a pretty interesting story. With kind of a sort of an anticlimactic ending when he dies, because you feel it coming. You just know it's something bad's going to happen, and it does. Weird story, but a good story. Next on this list. This is another one where the death is debatable. It's The Shining. All work and no play make Jack a dull boy. Jack ends up frozen to death out in a labyrinth. But does he? My personal feeling is the man never died as many times as he's been alive in the movie. And to get a glimpse of that at the very end where they zoom in on that picture from 1927. One of these days I'm going to Photoshop myself into that picture, because I think it would make a great background image. The Shining. Next on this list, another one from 1967. Can you guess what it is? What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. Luke dies when he shouldn't have died in that movie. Nonetheless, he died. That was Paul Newman. That was a great movie. He was also in Road to Perdition, if I'm not mistaken. One of his last films. Next one. There's no surprise that this guy dies in the film. The surprise is that he lived as long as he did, because he was pushing buttons through the whole movie. Say hello to my little friend. Scarface. He went out in a blaze of glory, but he self-medicated himself right before it, so he probably didn't feel a thing. It's another good film. I love Al Pacino, especially before he became a caricature of himself. couple of his more recent films that he did, he wasn't playing the character as much as he was playing Al Pacino playing the character. But he's been in some good ones. Another one from 1967. The last one here. I'm going to do an honorable mention because I wrote it down and then scratched it out. But the other one from 1967. If you know the story, it wasn't a surprise either. Thought I had something in my beard, but it was something on my phone. It's a struggle is real. Bonnie and Clyde. Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, along with one of my favorite actors, Gene Hackman. Based on a real story, although they took quite a few liberties with it. For 1967, it was one of the most shocking endings that people had seen up to that point. Not in that they died, but in how graphic it was. There weren't too many movies like that before 1967. They robbed their way across the country. A few people died. Made legends out of themselves. And they were betrayed for a handful of cash by one of their, I believe it was one of their gang members' father that did it, in real life anyway. And they were ambushed on a country road, and I want to say it was in Louisiana. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that was the end of them. And so goes the story of Bonnie and Clyde. The one that I scratched out on this list is one of those with a shocking ending that you didn't see coming, and kind of left you with a bad taste in your mouth, but it also kind of left you, I don't know, kind of feeling hopeful for mankind in a way. But it was kind of like, you know, this would be great if this were the way things were, but this is really the way things are. That was Pay It Forward. And I can't remember the names of anybody that was in that. The little kid was in quite a few different movies. He's probably not a little kid anymore by now. He's been in some good movies too. I See Dead People. I can't remember the name of that one. That was a good one. And he was also in a very surreal, odd movie called AI, Artificial Intelligence. That was a freaky movie. At least the first 45 minutes or so of it. Anyway, that's my list for today. So if you paid attention or not, and if you made it to this point in the video, the test is, write it down in the comments if you have a guess. You won't win anything but worldwide notoriety. What three musical references did I make in this video? 3 songs and artists, if you would, down in the bucket or the comments. That's about all I got to say for right now. I got 3 or 4 VRs to make because everybody decided to do a giveaway right at the same time. So you probably see a little more of me than you desire to see over the next couple of days. but I love supporting people. Anyway, have a good one. Take care of yourselves.